I really hope you're all well, everybody. I hope you've all had a beautiful Sukkot. This is our chance, everybody. Please, can you tell some friends to come on? So share it, tag, message, WhatsApp, especially on Instagram. I think there must be ways to get it out there on Instagram or on Facebook. I don't know. I'm not kind of an expert. I know a bit about Talmud, mysticism, people really rubbish about technology. Anyway, so that was kind of trying to get everyone on. Should we begin, everybody? Because to be honest, I feel like I'm on a clock. We have our dear friend Corin there. He's given me a very, very clear mission to try and do it within 60 minutes. And by the way, I'd like to get feedback. If anybody, do you prefer, here's a couple of questions. Do you prefer me just like sometimes just going on for another extra half an hour, or do you prefer just 60 minutes and then you know that you've got an 8:30 something busy going on, something on Netflix to watch, then you know it finishes 8:30. So let me know if you want it to be very much meticulous 60 minutes and then it's over. Which, by the way, on Instagram, that's what's going to happen. So for those at 8:30, if you do continue, hopefully definitely with questions, then turn over to Facebook, because I haven't yet figured out how I can continue Instagram once it finishes, kind of thing. So that's one question. Do you prefer 60 minutes or can we go longer? Question one. Question two, are you okay that when I like close my eyes and like channel and just like kind of get into it? Or my wife, when she saw me do that, she's like, no, you can't be closing your eyes. So you have to let me know. Can I go for the eyes closed and just let myself go? Or do I have to keep my eyes open? Just two questions for you. Not really important questions, but anyway, I think we should begin. If anybody wants to help with J Network, a few people have been asking me to help. So we need help with social media. We need help getting our Instagram going, our Facebook going. We need help with funding, with donating. We need help if anybody are experts, specifically in the area of either social media or fundraising. We need your help. So either please donate tonight. That would be awesome. But if you've got specific skills in the areas of social media, please be in touch, because we have super ambitious plans for J Network to try and inspire as many people as possible. So I think the world needs a bit of inspiration right now. It's in a pretty dire place, but we don't have to be. We can be joyous and happy, as we're going to learn tonight. Anyway, so that was my little promo. I think we should begin. Let's begin. Who is feeling happy out there? Who is feeling happy? Are you feeling happy? Should be. Sukkot it's called Zman Simchatenu, the time of happiness, the time of happiness. It says in the Torah, "V'samachta b'chagecha," and you should be joyous. This is the time for being joyous. This is the time for being happy. But what we're going to discuss tonight is, what the heck is happiness? What is happiness? So Anita wrote the most beautiful article of what happiness is. Well done, Anita. Love it. And anybody like to put a message in what you think happiness? Happiness is. Someone define happiness. Happiness will be my daughter closing my doors so I don't hear her. For Heidi's out there, go for it. What is happiness, anyone? Give me happiness. So here's the thing. I'll tell you what happiness isn't. I'll tell you what happiness is not. So for example, Nikki's going for inner peace. Someone's out there. Nice, Nikki. Anyone else? Definition of happiness. And on Instagram as well. Come on, let's hear you on Instagram. Define happiness. Come on. Sherry's there. Give me happiness according to Sherry. Corin. Happiness according to Corin. It's funny. I wonder if anybody wants to look on Wikipedia what happiness is. It'll be interesting what they say. Isn't it interesting? Everyone is searching for happiness. Everyone is pursuing happiness, dreaming of happiness. But most people don't even know what happiness is. How bizarre is that? How paradoxical is that? L'chaim, everybody. So, you know, as some of you know, Sherry's not going to like this part. From one of my hobbies is I like to support the Jewish team in North London, Spurs. So we had a nice 6-1 victory this Sunday, and I'll be honest, it was pretty cool. Beating Man United 6-1, pretty cool. Very ostensibly happy. Was I happy? Was I happy? And then We went for a Chol HaMoed family outing, which my daughter hasn't forgiven me that Brachi hasn't come yet, so I hope you forgive me. But Racheli came and Yitzi came, and we went to see Jose Mourinho at Spurs. It was fun, it was joyous, it was pleasurable. Was it happy? So the answer is that there's a difference between what we're going to define ego happiness, or I'm also going to call child happiness, and soul happiness. And I can assure you that that's not in Wikipedia, right? Anita's put Wikipedia's. She's written positive emotions ranging from contentment to intense joy. But again, what is contentment and what is intense joy? So here's the thing: when we 161, the child in me was happy, right? The child in me was happy, but my soul couldn't care less, to be quite honest. Which means the part of Hashem in me, Hashem, is it going to get us closer to Hashem? Is it going to make the world a better place? Is it going to bring the Beis HaMikdash? Is it going to bring joy and kindness and love to the world? No. It's fun, and I'm not knocking fun, right? Go and have fun, and go and do things which are pleasurable as long as it's kosher and ethical and moral, and you're not hurting anyone. But let's not get confused between pleasure and happiness, or what I called child happiness or ego happiness. So for example, when my grandchildren come to the house, they're so excited if I open up the nosh drawer and they go for some nosh, right? And they're going for nosh. They're going for food, right? And I find it amazing. Little kids get super excited when food, but then I go and see adults. There's a wedding reception. Not that we're allowed wedding receptions anymore, but please God, very soon again, there's going to be wedding receptions. And I love standing back and watching, and I love these adults who are like very maybe busy, competent, professionals, focused. When the food comes out, like, oh my gosh, everyone's like when you go to Trafalgar Square and you put like the breads and all the pigeons go to the bread. So, you know, the chef brings the sushi out, everyone's running, and then the next, buffet comes out and people are rushing to the buffet. And it's like, whoa, chill out, everyone. It's not doing a lot for your soul. But yet we go through, food can make you happy. And by the way, how many times have you we dive in when you're feeling a bit stressed. Okay, I need my Haagen-Dazs and my, people like a beer or a glass of wine. I don't believe it makes you happy. It might distract you from the sadness. It might feed the child in us, feed the ego in us, but that's not what's called happiness. You can't find happiness in food. You can't find happiness in money, as we're going to see soon. You can't find happiness in the external. It's funny, even someone who's having a laugh, laughing, can go to a Michael McIntyre, right? Go to hear a comedian, and he can make you laugh. By the way, isn't it interesting how many comedians, for them to get the laugh, they're putting people down, which really shouldn't be very funny, but yet the Yetzer Hara finds it really funny. So sometimes the Yetzer Hara laughs, right? The lower self laughs, the ego laughs, the child laughs, but actually sometimes the soul isn't laughing. So we have to decide, how do we make the soul smile? How do we make your soul happy? That's the goal of tonight. I want your neshama to be happy. I want your soul to be happy, and that's genuine happiness. How do we achieve that? And as I said, money's not going to do that. Power is not going to do that. Comedy's not going to do that. How many, any of you like Batman and the Joker? The Joker isn't very happy. How many clowns are not that happy inside? Because just because you even smile or laugh or make someone laugh, that in and of itself doesn't make the soul happy. So here we go. Definition of happiness according to Kabbalah 101. Are you ready? Hashem is happy. Hashem is happy. It's written in a very holy book. You can check it out, called Nehemiah, in chapter 8. Ki chedvas Hashem hi me'ozochem, which means the joy of Hashem is your strength. So what's going to give you strength, what's going to make you happy, is when you can fuse to Hashem's happiness, to God's happiness. When we can align ourselves to Hashem, when we can align ourselves to the creator of the world, when you can become one with Hashem, immediately your soul can be in a state of happiness. The question is, how do we do that? How do we achieve that? Or as it says in Divrei Hayom, chapter 27, Oiz v'chedz v'bim koimoi. Joy and delight is when you're in Hashem's place, when you're with God, when you're chilling with God, when you're one with Hashem, when you almost lose yourself in something greater than yourself. That's when, ironically, you're going to be a lot happier. So I'm going to give you tonight, in the 45 minutes we have left, because I'm going to try, Corinne, and be on time, even though I might fail miserably. And then afterwards, especially after 8:30, we'll probably continue questions on Facebook. But I'm going to try and give you, hopefully in these 45 minutes, 5 steps how to achieve happiness, how to align yourself to God's happiness. Are we ready? Step number 1, and again, if you've got questions, maybe write them down. Specifically at the end, there's going to be loads of time to take questions. Here we go. Here we go. Step number 1. Step number 1. From Rabbi Dessler. So there's a book from Rabbi Dessler, a book called Michtav Meliyahu, Strive for Truth. I super duper recommend it. And in it, he says the following. Listen up. He quotes the famous Mishnah in Pirkei Avot, which I'll quote for you. Mishnah in Pirkei Avot. As some of you know, he says, Ezu Asher, who is a wealthy person? Who is a rich person? As some of you know, the famous quotes. Anyone know who is a wealthy person according to Pirkei Avot? The answer is, from Ben Zoma, Sameach Bechalkei, someone who's happy with his lot. Someone who's happy with his lot. And then he quotes, listen to what the quote of the Mishnah, Shneimar, as it says, and it's a verse from Psalms, King David's Psalms, Psalm 128, number 8. It says, Yigia kapecha kiseichel, when you eat of the labor of your hands, then ashrecha, then you're going to be happy. So what does that mean? When you eat from the labor of your hands, you're going to be happy. So the Kotzker Rebbe says something beautiful, something so beautiful. He's teaching us that when you work, eat it from the labor of your hands, not of your heart and soul. Meaning, toil with your hands, don't toil with your heart. Don't get caught up in the job. Don't be obsessed with the job. And what we're going to learn about is the following. Step number 1 to happiness is, what are you dreaming? What's your GPS saying? Is your GPS saying, my goal is to make money, and that's my priority in life, and that's my focus, and that's where I'm going, and I want to become wealthy, and when I become wealthy, then I'll be happy. If that's the case, you'll never be wealthy or happy. You definitely won't be happy. As King Solomon says, Shlomo HaMelech says, an amazing line, he says, Oyev kesev lo yispa kesev. Someone who loves money will never be satisfied with money. If money is your goal, that's never going to make you happy. As it says in Koheles Rabbah, the Midrash says in the beginning of the Midrash, in Koheles Rabbah, Yesh lo moneh rotzeh masayim. You have 100, you're going to want 200. So if it's money you're chasing, you'll never be happy. If you have 1 million, you're going to want 2 million. If you have 2 million, you're going to want 4 million. It's always double now. It's even double. It's not even just like a little bit. Like a little bit more. We don't want a little bit more. We want a lot more. If it's materialism you're chasing. Just like the challah in the oven, it's just constantly wanting to grow. More. So if, God forbid, our desires and our dreams gets caught up in materialism per se, we'll actually never be satisfied. Says Rabbi Dessler, the goal is to move the ayin to the aleph, which is a very deep Kabbalistic idea. The ayin to the aleph. The ayin is something very physical, the aleph is spiritual. What does that mean? For example, in the Garden of Eden, when Adam and Eve sinned, they went the other way. From their skin was Ar, which was light. Our skin initially didn't look like this. It was just, we were vessels of light. And then when we sinned, we went from light of the skin to the Ar with the iron, which is something, a layer which covers over the light. Our goal really is to make the ayin go back to the aleph. So for example, the word in Hebrew for wealth is asher, ayin, shin, resh. The goal is to become osher with an aleph, shin, resh, which is happy. To move the ayin to the aleph. How do you move the ayin to the aleph? You do that by desiring the aleph, not the ayin. You do that by putting on your GPS that my happiness is going to be to fulfill my mission in life, to make God happy, to make my family happy, to make others happy. And money can be a means to enable me to do that, but I'm not going to be living for money. I'm not going to be working to live, per se. You with me? In other words, that way round, right? You shouldn't live for work. You should work to live. That's the point. Don't focus. It's all about money. All about money. And then when you get there, you're always going to want more. And by the way, you know, how many people, you're chasing the money. It's not like coronavirus is coming and all of a sudden it's all gone. I had a friend of mine, he went and bought tons of pubs and you know, he thought that was it. He made it and all his dreams have come true and he's going to be a multi-millionaire, and all of a sudden owning pubs isn't really the thing to make money right now. And now he's in trouble. Hashem will help him get out of trouble very soon, and please God, he's going to make tons of money, which he'll be able to give loads to this charity, please God. But you see, money is very transient, and the goal should never be to chase money. So, for example, another beautiful Mishnah, listen to this. Mishnah in Pirkei Avot, chapter 6, Mishnah 4, it says, Kachi darka shel Torah. This is the ideal way to be. Pas b'melech tochal. Learn how to eat bread with salt. How many people just have bread and salt? Drink water, in small measure even. Sleep on the floor. Live a life which is stressful, which is hard, which is arduous. And you should toil in Torah. It shouldn't just be like sitting back, watching a bit of Instagram, letting the rabbi do the work. Please God, over the week, you need to put some work in your spiritual wisdom. It should be like, oh my gosh, working at it. It should be toiling. If you do that, says the Mishnah, Ashrecha, that's when you're going to be happy. For Torah, things will be good for you, both in this world and the next world. It's so counterintuitive, right? Who would say to you, you really want to be happy? Have bread and salt with a bit of water. But it's obviously telling you something very, very powerful. It's telling you that money isn't going to make you happy. Sushi's not going to make you happy. What's going to make you happy is fulfilling your mission in this world, is doing the right thing, is putting on your GPS. My focus, my dream is to make the world a better place, to achieve my spiritual mission in this world, is to bring love to my family, is to make Hashem happy. These should be our missions. Kind of like our missions, hopefully, on Yom Kippur and on Rosh Hashanah. It wasn't just, I want to lose weight. It wasn't just, you know, I want to make 10 million pounds. It should be, I hope, how can I be better? How can I speak kinder? How can I be more humble? You know, how can I leave my imprint in this world the way Hashem wants me to? That should be the focus. You know, there's a beautiful story I saw from Rabbi Wasserman, a great, he was one of the great tzaddikim, died in the Holocaust. And this following story happened. There was a wealthy and successful lawyer who visited his childhood friend, this Rabbi Wasserman. And he was appalled by the great Rosh Hashiva's poverty. He said, Elchanan, you're so much brighter than me. Had you become a lawyer, you would have become such a wealthy man today. Rabbi Chanan, the Rosh Hashiva, didn't react. He didn't react. They were two old friends, visiting each other, having a few enjoyable hours. Rabbi Chanan accompanied him back to the train. At the station, the two trains were waiting. One was a modern, comfortable, luxurious to the east, and the other one was old and rickety. The lawyer who headed westward walked towards the old train. Suddenly, the Rosh Hashiva said to him, "Why do you travel in such an uncomfortable train? Go to the luxurious new one." So the lawyer friend stared at him and said incredulously, "But I'm going in the other direction." Rabbi Chanan ignored the comment. He said, "Nonetheless, isn't it better to travel in a comfortable, plush train?" The lawyer was exasperated. "Elchan, you're speaking nonsense. What good is a comfortable train if it's not taking me where I need to go?" Rabbi Chanan quietly replied and said, "Listen to yourself, you're right. When you want to arrive at a certain destination, the comfort level of the vehicle doesn't mean much. The main thing is to get to where you need to be. Don't you remember you asked me, why didn't I become a lawyer? Of course that career could have been more lucrative, could have been more luxurious. But that wasn't my goal in life. What good is the comfort if I don't arrive where I want to be, if I'm going in the wrong direction. That's so beautiful, my friends. Again, any lawyers out there, it's cool. You know, be a lawyer. Go for it. But, if you're the great Rabbi Chanan Wasserman, then of course, what you need to do is achieve your mission. Don't achieve somebody else's mission, even if it means you're not going in the luxurious cabin. Who cares if that's not where you're going to? There's a famous story. It's a famous kind of parable about a king who was once seriously ill. All the doctors despaired of curing him. One healer offered a remedy and said, if the king would put me on the shirt of a person who's absolutely happy, the king would be healed. So this king was super ill, couldn't find a cure anywhere. And the cure was going to be, say the physicians, find the shirt of a person who's absolutely happy. So that's it. All the riders were dispatched all over the country to look for a person who's absolutely happy and bring his shirt back to the king. Firstly, they went to the richest person in the country. They said to him, are you happy? He answered, of course, I'm the richest person in the country. But they said, are you really happy? He began to hesitate. Absolute is a difficult term. How can I be absolutely happy? I always have to protect my position. You know, take, for example, the businessmen in the north. They're doing really well. I've got issues. I've got stuff going on. It's the famous quote in Pirkei Avot, Mar be'nechasim, mar be'daigas. The more property, the more worries. He definitely wasn't happy, so they left him. They went to the leading educational figure. Are you happy? Yeah, absolutely happy. But then he says, actually, you know, things aren't going well. My marriage is tough, etc., etc. Before you know it, they couldn't find one happy person in the whole village. They gave up. They couldn't find one happy person. Finally, on their way home, they saw that there was like this beggar in the street singing. He was a bit of a drunk, and he's singing and singing. So they said to him, like, you look really happy. You happy? So he said, I'm so happy, the beggar said. I'm so happy. I haven't got a care in the world. Haven't got a care in the world. So they said, oh my gosh, we need your shirt. The king's sick. If we can wear your shirt, he's going to get better. The king said, no problem, but I don't own a shirt. I don't own a shirt. Meaning, listen up, meaning this amazing idea that the moment you own something, you're not happy. The moment you own something, you're not happy. The goal is not to have and to yearn and to desire for possessions. The goal is to go for something much more inward, much more of your inner world. There's this amazing phrase that I want you to learn and kind of put it on your soul. V'darshei Hashem lo yachsaru kol tov, King David says. Someone who searches for God will never be lacking anything. If you don't want to be lacking anything, then your goal will be to search for Hashem. So step number one in achieving happiness is have a better GPS. Make sure your GPS has a loftier, more aspirational, more godly mission. Fuse your mission with God's mission. That's step one to happiness. By the way, I'm hearing that on the J Network Facebook page, there's a problem with the microphone. Really apologize. So go to either the Avi Hill Facebook page or on Instagram, I think is doing well. Is Instagram good? Can you hear me? So maybe move people who are watching from the J Network page. If you don't want to hear a strange microphone, go to the Avi Hill Facebook page or the Instagram Facebook page. I apologize for that. We will try and rectify that for next week. Okay. Step number two. Are we ready? I love this. When I learned this, literally it made my night the other night. So I'm really hoping you will love this verse from Divrei Hayamim, and from Melachim Bet, and it goes like this. Step number two. So Rav Shimshon Raphael Hirsch explains that the words in Hebrew for happiness, you know, is sameach. There's another word in Hebrew which sounds like that, and in Kabbalah, when you have two Hebrew words which sound similar, then it's telling you a deep message. So there's another word sounding similar to sameach. Anyone think of it? Anyone know it? What sounds similar to sameach in Hebrew? Sameach. Sameach with the tzaddik. Sameach with the tzaddik means growth. It means growth. Says Rav Shimshon Raphael Hirsch, if you want to achieve happiness, get into growth. Get into growth. Ensure you're growing. As we said, you can sit down a Michael McIntyre show and you can be laughing, but you're not necessarily happy. You're happy if you're growing, if you're achieving things in life, if you are moving towards a destination. That's why I'm sure many of you love your going to the gym. Personally, it's not my kind of thing. But if you go to the gym and you could work crazy hard and you could almost be in physical pain, but yet you're happy and you're joyous. Why? Because you're working towards something. You have a goal, you're trying to achieve your goal. So much more so if that goal you're trying to achieve is part of your spiritual mission. Says the Ramchal, and listen up, please listen up. You want to be happy? You want to be happy, then do something that you're good at and that you love. Again. Do something that you're good at and that which you love. My dear friends, that's what we should be doing in life. If you are feeling depressed out there and feeling sad, feeling anxious, ensure that throughout your week I would hope, if you can, every day do something that you're good at and that which you love. Do something that when you do it, time is just flying. Hopefully it's sitting back listening to this, right? But when you're learning Torah, you should be just flying, right? But if you're clock watching, that's not a good sign. Get involved in doing things where you don't clock watch, where time just flies. And there's this amazing line, which I'm just in love with, and I thank Rabbi Jacobson for teaching me this, and he says it's from the Maggid of Mezerich. Are you ready? The Maggid of Mezerich says the following. I love this line. He quotes from Melachim Bet, chapter 3, verse 15, where Elisha is looking for a bit of fun. He's looking for a bit of happiness. He's looking to align himself to Hashem, and he wants to do it via music. So he's looking for a musician. So he says, "Va'ata kechuli li menagin." Let someone bring a musician. And then the verse says, "V'hoya kenagein hamenagein." When the nagain is the menagain, when the singer becomes the song, "V'atahi olav yad Hashem." That's when the hands of Hashem came on him. So Leila, you out there, Leila, my musician friends, if anybody out there who are musicians, the goal is that the singer should become the song, that the musician should become the music, that the artist should become the art, that the accountant should become the numbers. Don't know if that works, right? But you know what I'm saying? Meaning, the goal is when you become one with your art, when you become one with your mission. Again, I'll be honest with you, and I thank you so much for listening to me, because when I'm sharing Torah with you, you're allowing me to become one with kind of my goal. That's why I can speak for hours and hours and hours, and my wife has very kindly came and given me her watch, because if I didn't have a watch, I could literally be going on for hours, because I lose track of time. Layla, you like that, no? So that's the goal. To do something, my dear friends, and if you say, there's nothing I love so much, you need to keep looking. You need to keep searching. You need to keep searching for what are you good at? What do you love? What's going to make a difference in this world for the positive, for the benefit? You know, sometimes some people must say to me, 1 minute, I love stealing. This isn't me talking, some people could say that. I love stealing. I love being a thief. Well, then, Hashem doesn't love it because he says lo tignov. So then your ego could be happy, but that's not the barometer for spiritual happiness. The barometer for spiritual happiness, is it kosher? Is it ethical? Is it going to bring positivity into the world? And if you do that, then that's how to achieve happiness. To lose yourself in your spiritual mission. Wow, if you're blessed enough to be able to, even once a week, to do that, that's an amazing way, my dear friends, to achieve happiness. That's a beautiful way to achieve happiness. And maybe that's, number 3. Are you ready for step number 3? So far, just to recap. Step number 1, Step number 1 is to make sure your GPS is aligned to God's GPS, which in a way is what Shabbos is. That's why we have Shabbos every week. We're just aligning our GPS to what's our spiritual mission. Number 2, to get lost in the music, to be growing. Sameach, sameach. Let the musician become the music. And now number 3. Number 3. By the way, just before that, there was a famous thing where someone once came to the Lubavitcher Rebbe and they said to the Rebbe, "How are you feeling?" And it's very sweet because, like, that's kind of why not? But people were kind of very scared. Normally they wouldn't ask, like, how he was. They wouldn't say, like, how you feeling? And they said once to him, "How are you feeling?" And he said to him, my father-in-law, who used to be the previous Rebbe, said to me that if you're feeling how you're feeling, then you're not going to be feeling. Meaning, think about it. When do we feel not great? When we start focusing on our feelings, meaning, ooh, have I got a headache? You know, just before I came, I was feeling my head and I took some painkillers, right? Often, like when we are scanning our thoughts, when we're scanning our feelings, when we're scanning our bodily reactions, like that's when we start not feeling well, ironically. Ironically, the time when we feel the best is when we stop feeling about ourselves, meaning the Rebbe is saying, let's not introspect and be asking, like, how am I doing? Am I happy right now? It's all about me. You know, how's my head? How's my stomach? Let's focus on others, on you. Let me focus on others. Let me focus on Hashem. Let me focus on something bigger. Let's get lost in the music. Let's get lost in love. Let's get lost in our mission. And then ironically, you won't be focusing on who you are. And then you're going to feel amazing. Then you're going to feel super duper happy. And I really, really recommend that to not spend time scanning. Am I happy? Am I happy? Am I happy? Let that happiness just flood through you by you doing the right thing, or by your GPS being consistent with Hashem's GPS. That's the first 2. Step number 3, and this is a beautiful one. Giving. Again, you want to align yourself to Hashem's happiness. One of the greatest character traits of Hashem is Hashem is merciful. Hashem is compassionate. Hashem is full of love. Hashem is full of giving. We're taught the reason why Hashem made the world is Olam Chesed Yiboneh. Ratzon Lehetziv Mituva. Hashem wanted to give of His goodness. When Hashem gives, that's activating Hashem's godliness. So when we give, we activate the godliness within us. So if someone's feeling miserable out there, any of you feeling a little bit sad or miserable, then what I would recommend is get involved in giving. Get involved in giving. Get involved in giving. Do someone a favor every day. Make sure you give someone a favor. Make a difference to someone's life. Because when you're stepping out of your ego and you step into the world of another and you almost lose yourself, even for a few seconds in another, your soul is feeling nourished. Your soul is like this plant that needs to be nourished with getting the right amount of water and sun for the plant to grow. So make sure you water your plant. Make sure you water your soul. One of the greatest ways you can water your soul is to help other people, is to be kind, is to get involved in doing favors. As, again, King David writes, one of the famous lines, Mi ha'ish hachafetz chaim. Who's the person who desires life? Ohev yomim. If you want to be happy in your life, what is the way to do that? Nitzar l'shencha meira. Be careful what you say. Usfasecha midaber mirma. Don't let your lips utter falsehood. Don't speak lashon hara. Anytime you want to say something negative and then you stop yourself, amazingly your soul will feel joyous. Your Yetzer Hara might feel so frustrated, right? You've ever been in that situation, anyone, where like there's something like delicious you want to say, but you realize it's wrong. You realize it's lashon hara, so you're like, maybe I shouldn't say it. When you can just stop yourself, your soul gets into an incredible state of joy and happiness. And even though your ego and your Yetzer Hara is like, frustrated, good, Baruch Hashem, our goal is to frustrate our Yetzer Hara and to allow our soul to be happy. You know, I heard a beautiful story just before I came on. And the story is the following. Let's try and get it right. And I heard it from Rabbi Yoel Gold, if you want to look up on YouTube, the story. And he writes like this. He writes he was alerted to this incident that there was this man who was selling on Amazon. It happened about a year ago. He was selling on Amazon. He was a rabbi from Lakewood. And he was selling tablets, right? Kind of like cheap iPads. He was selling tablets on Amazon. And that was like one of his side businesses. And one night he got a new stock of tablets, and he put on Amazon a new message, new stock of tablets going for just $400. Go for it. And throughout the night he heard his phone buzzing, didn't really quite understand it. When he woke up in the morning, he saw, oh my gosh, result, they're all sold out. Literally, he's never had that before. Normally maybe one or two. The whole stock was sold out, and he's like, result. Thank you, Hashem. Great news. Baruch Hashem. Until he looked a little bit closer at his advert, and he went from Baruch Hashem to Oy vey super quickly. What was the Oy vey? He'd realized he'd made a mistake on his Amazon advert, and instead of writing 400, he missed out a 0. So it was for $40. So no wonder they got sold out. And now he's now counting his losses. From the moment of counting his profit, he's now counting his losses. He obviously goes and tries to cancel it. But those of you, sure, Amazon experts know it's not that easy just to cancel the sales. It doesn't look good for your profile. So he couldn't cancel. He's now really sad. He's saying some psalms. Hashem, what do I do? All of a sudden he gets an email from what was called Yehuda from Lakewood. Yehuda from Lakewood said, and this is the funny thing, that the name of the rabbi he put on his Amazon account was, and as you know, is one of my favorite ones, L.Y. Beditshev. That was his account name, which is the name of the great Kedushas Levi Yitzchak Beditshev. He definitely wasn't him selling, because he died a few hundred years ago, but someone obviously thought that could be a cool name to put on his Amazon account. So he was selling from L.Y. Beditshev. So Yehuda from Lakewood sends the message to L.Y. Beditshev saying, I think you made a mistake. You put $40, and I'm like also selling that area. And I sometimes look at my competitors to find out how much it is. And I could see you only put $40 for your price. So you know what I did? I bought them all out for you. I didn't want you to lose money. And now we can, because you could have lost a lot of money. And that's the most beautiful thing, that this Yehuda from Lakewood had the kindness and the goodness to buy from his competitor to save him losing money. And then for him, he was able to cancel the account, and it was all good. So can we imagine? We called him the Amazon angel. And I think that's so beautiful. Why can't we be like that more? Why can't we, instead of what can I gain? What can I get? Start thinking, what can I give? And if we get into a place of giving more than taking, that's a beautiful way to start achieving a tremendous, much more happiness in our lives. So step 3 of happiness is get involved in giving, get involved in volunteering, keep doing people favors. Step 4, here we go. This is a bit more Kabbalistic, a bit more subtle, so listen up. Says Rav Moshe Isserlis, and it's quite interesting where it actually came from. He says a very wise man said it. It's a bit ambiguous who's the first person to say this famous saying. But this is the saying. He says, and Rabbi Nachman quotes it as well, Ein simcha kesimchas hatoras hasfeikas. There is no simcha like the joy of when there's a removal of doubt. If we can learn to remove doubts in our life, we are going to feel an incredible sense of happiness. What does that mean? So obviously, just from a very logical, rational perspective, when you have doubt, for example, if you're not sure if you should be in the right job, not sure you should be in the right country, not sure if you need to get certain medication, if you're in a relationship, you're not sure if you should be in that relationship, that's going to distort your happiness. That's not going to allow your happiness to come in. So learn how to resolve the doubt, and there'll be a lot more simcha, a lot more happiness coming in your life. But from a Kabbalistic perspective, it's way deeper. As some of you know from my talks before, the great Maharal explains that the Hebrew for the word doubt is safek. Safek, which samach is 60, fei 80, kuf 100, 240. It's the same numerical value as Amalek. Ayin, Mem, Lamed, Kuf. Amalek, our spiritual nemesis. Meaning that when we're in doubt, it's the Yetzer Hara. It's the lower self trying to harm us. Trying to harm us. So when we're in doubt, instead of saying, hey, I'm just in doubt, look at it like a spiritual malaise, a spiritual problem that our job is to try and get out of, to try and fix. That should be our job, my friends. That if you can label that your doubt, that's my Yetzer Hara, that's my lower self, straight away, that illusion of doubt can be removed. So, for example, in my life, if I've ever at times been in doubt, I'll go to the Kotel, I'll go to the Western Wall, and that's a place that my Yetzer Hara can't lie to me. That's a place of such clarity. That's a place where I can listen to my gut, and I really recommend you try that. So, for those of you who aren't living a kilometer away from the Western Wall and can't go to the Western Wall tonight, go in your sukkah, if you've got a sukkah. If you haven't got a sukkah, say some psalms. Try and align yourself to God. Try and get into a beautiful spiritual cocoon, in a fantastic spiritual calming place, and then try and listen to follow your gut. And if you can follow your spiritual gut, not your Yetzer Hara gut, but your spiritual gut, and you can therefore get out of doubt, that's the way to get into happiness. So another step, my dear friends, of getting into happiness is to remove doubts from our life. You know, one of the things I try and do in my J coaching, for those who are looking for coaching, is we try and work out, is that doubt coming from, what is that? What is really your Yetzer Hara saying, and what is really Hashem saying? Because that's all there is. There's kind of your lower self or your higher self. There's hell or Hashem. Nothing in between. So you've got to work out, where is the voice coming from? And when you work that out, you can get out of doubt, you can allow happiness to come in. So that's number 4. Number 5, and this is where it gets a lot more complex. Because if any of you are there struggling with sadness, depression, anxiety, then you need this. This is the most important of all the steps. And it was the great Tzemach Tzedek who coined the phrase first. And he said, think good and it will be good. Think good and it will be good. So here's the thing. We generally think that we're a slave to our thoughts, that we have negative thoughts, sad thoughts. We say, well, my thoughts say I'm sad, so that means I'm sad. The Kabbalists would explain, remember, Hashem's always happy. Your soul's always happy. Every time your soul comes back to you in the morning, we say, thank you, Hashem. We say, my soul is pure and happy and joyous. Every day my soul is happy and joy. My mind is a different story. My body, my thoughts. So our job is to align our thoughts to our soul. How do we do that? So I'll tell you a little story about me. So when I was about 19 years old, I suffered an illness called myalgic encephalomyelitis, ME. My body stopped working and I wasn't able to get out of bed, and bit of a nightmare, to say the least. And there was a time when ME just was beginning in the medical community. Doctors had no idea where to go. Treatment was not there, and I had a year of being in bed. And someone gave me this book, and I highly recommend this book for anyone who's either got ME or got other physical ailments. And the book was called Healing Back Pain, from a doctor called Dr. Sarno, S-A-R-N-O. And I read it, and I read it, and it was like, whoa. And then he explained this Kabbalistic idea we didn't realize was coming from Kabbalah, that your thoughts are not you, and that we actually have the power to change our thoughts, and then our own physical symptoms can change as a consequence of that. So even though my thoughts were telling me that my body couldn't move, and my arm couldn't move, and my leg couldn't move, re-change your thoughts through mantras, through just reprogramming. It's like a computer where there's a glitch. That's what happened with the microphone tonight, probably. Some glitch. For anyone who's on J Network, move over to the Avi Hill site or Instagram site. I think the microphone's better there, please God. When there's a glitch, things don't come out right. So sometimes we have glitches in our mind and our thoughts. And By the way, it's obviously super complicated, and often we need therapy and coaching and help and advice to work out why we're feeling as we're feeling. But critically, we don't have to feel what our thoughts are telling us. We have the ability to change how we feel by changing our thoughts. And I am literally living testaments. And by the way, it took me a while. You know, I was saying my mantras every day. I am healthy now. I am strong. I'm happy. And a voice would come back saying, no, I'm not. I'm feeling rubbish. I'm feeling really ill still. And it was literally one day I realized, no, if you really believe it 100%, and I was walking in Henson Park. And by the way, at least I could now walk, but I still was feeling a bit rubbish. And I said to myself, okay, now I'm really going to say it and mean it and know it. And I started saying, I am healthy. I am strong. And I started literally, it took me 6 months of this work. I literally changed how I felt. And I'm here in front of you now, still officially with the condition of ME. And sometimes I have a few rubbish days, a few rubbish hours, but I'm fighting because I'm no longer enslaved by my thoughts. I'm now trying to take control over my thoughts. And that's where a lot of my coaching techniques within the field of NLP has come from, because it super worked. But that's Rabbi Desta speaks a lot about it. And he actually uses the phrase chitzonius mares hapnimius, the external. The external can reflect the inwards, or people say fake it to make it. Sometimes just say it, say it, say it, say it, say it. Say I feel good, say I feel happy. And you'll be say, no, I don't. Saying again, say it again, but believe it. Ani mamin b'emunah shalema, say it with full faith. And you'll start seeing an amazing change in your life. You know, even just that's why giving a smile will start literally, you'll start feeling that smile by giving a smile. And maybe that's the meaning of this very deep phrase, simcha poiretz geder, that joy can break through fences just by saying I am happy, saying I'm feeling besimcha, I'm feeling joyous, I'm feeling happy, just saying it. You can start feeling it, and then when you start feeling it, you can break through all externalities. Any questions before I go on? It's a chance now to ask questions. We had 5 steps. Just to reiterate those 5 steps. The first one was work on your GPS. Change where you're going. Make sure you're aligned to a higher spiritual mission if you want to be happy. If you're just chasing money, if you're just chasing fun, you're not going to be happy. Your soul's not going to be happy. You might think you're happy, but you're going to feel a sense of emptiness. A lot of any of you feeling depressed and unhappy, it could be just because your soul is feeling undernourished. Layla liked the phrase, feed your soul. Sometimes we don't feed your soul enough. We need to feed our soul with spirituality, with goodness, with kindness, with doing what you're meant to do in this world. So the first one, as we said, was what's your GPS? Fix that. Number 2, get involved in growing. Sameach. Get involved with achieving. Get involved in being productive. Get involved in having goals, having projects, but ideally having spiritual projects, and really ideally getting involved in a project that's your mission, that's your project. And we said this amazing line from Melachim, which is when the musician became the music. That's the goal, to get involved in such a project that you're literally, you've lost yourself in the music. You've lost yourself in your art. You become one with your art. That's when you're going to feel incredibly joyous. Number 3, we said get involved in giving, get involved in kindness, get involved in doing people favors, volunteering, in altruism. Yes, we are capable of altruism. Number 4, try and remove the doubts from your life. Many of those doubts are illusional, delusional. Try and step back from the doubts. And number 5, we've said, learn how to control your thoughts. Don't take some of your thoughts so seriously. Obviously, anyone who's suffering from severe clinical depression, you know, in addition to this, definitely see a doctor, see a psychiatrist, get help. Hashem should grant you a refuah shlema. But I believe even for someone with very serious depression, this can really help them. This can tremendously help them. And I know that firsthand. I've been, thank God, able to help people with these techniques, and I've seen incredible differences in a very short time. Very short time. Because it really works. Any questions? This is your chance, my friends, to ask questions. And I'll finish off with a story. See, Corin, I'm trying to finish on time, man. I'm trying to be a good boy. Anyone else? Anyone got a question? Hello? Anybody out there? This is a chance for you to ask questions. Anyone? Okay, so let me tell you a story, and then at the end of that story, you get another chance to ask a question. Here's a beautiful story from, fine, Nikki. A line GPS. That's not a question. That's beautiful. That's a nice summary. Nikki's put a nice summary down. I want a question. I want interaction, interactivity. Give me a question, someone. Listen to this. Beautiful story of Rabbi Yitzchak. So let's get this story right. He was, just before Yom Kippur, it was a bit of a different town in those days, where someone who wasn't paying their rent, they could get in trouble. I'll come to your question about doubt in a second, Nikki. I'm on a roll now with Rabbi Yitzchak's story. So he was in a town, an innkeeper. He wasn't able to pay the rent, so the landowner, they don't take that very nicely. They say, you can't pay the rent. Get out of the inn and we're going to imprison you. They imprisoned this Jewish innkeeper because he couldn't pay, and he was literally put in some dungeons, and the Jewish community heard about it, and only with 300 rubles, which was the rent, was he going to be able to get out of the dungeon. So just before Yom Kippur, kind of the message went out to the community, how can we raise 300 rubles? And no one knew what to do. One of the guys in charge of the charity, the fundraisers in the town, said, okay, let's try this, even though a few hours to go before Yom Kippur. Let's try and help. And he's trying to raise a bit of money, and he got a few rubles from the town, but they didn't have a lot of money. People didn't have the money to pay. So he's like, let's go to a place where some very wealthy individuals, they're not very spiritual, and I'm probably not going to get a good reaction, but let's try. So the chassid went to this neighboring town, and he's getting in there, and he's going into kind of a tavern, a pub. And he starts telling them, can anyone help? We need to raise 300 rubles. We've got one of our brothers is in a dungeon right now, and he's never going to be released until we get the money for him. And it's Yom Kippur in a few hours. And they were laughing, why should we give you money? It's not our problem. What? But then they thought, a few of them were getting a bit drunk. They thought they'd have some fun with this chassid. So there's this big vodka on the table with, 95% alcohol. So and they said, if you can finish this whole bottle, we'll give you 100 rubles. And the chassid is like, ay, Hashem, it's Yom Kippur. It's Yom Kippur. I can't go into Yom Kippur totally drunk out of my head, but I've got to save this guy, so, okay, I better try. Obviously, the fact they're telling me that means that's what Hashem wants me to do. So he went and he drank the bottle with a 95% strength, and he got very drunk. And they said, fair enough, and they gave him 100 rubles. But there was 200 to go, so he goes to another table, and they were watching the scene. They were thinking it's hilarious. This chassid is now super drunk. They're making fun of this guy. They said, okay, if you can drink our bottle, we'll also give you 100. So they give him 100. And he's now drunk 2 bottles. He's on his face, but he's like, I've got another 100. And he's saying in his drunken state, can anyone match that and give us another 100? So they're laughing their heads off. So the final table in the corner said, okay, you drink our bottle, we'll also give you 100. And he now drinks that 3rd bottle of vodka. And he gets the 300 rubles, and he manages to save his brother from the dungeons. And he now walks into shul on Yom Kippur, says in Rabbi Yitzchak's shul. Drunk as a skunk, as they say. He's lying on the benches. And when Kol Nidre gets up and the Sefer Torah gets out, the chassid, who's so drunk, so crazy drunk, quickly gets up. In his head, he thinks it's Simchas Torah, which we're going to have soon. And he starts getting to the Torah, and he starts dancing. And saying, Atar Reis Vadas, dancing the Simchas Torah song. Mitzvah Gedola, Liyos B'Simcha. He's singing all the Simcha songs. And there's a big commotion in Shul. It's like Yom Kippur. It's Kol Nidre. It's a time for seriousness. But he was laughing and joking, and they're like, what do we do? Rabbi Avi Hill just stopped and banged on the thing and said, you see what kindness can do? He did that act of kindness. Normally in Tishri we have Make Hashem King on Rosh Hashanah. Then we have on Yom Kippur, Day of Atonement. We're saying sorry. And then we get to the happiness of Sukkot, climaxing the end of Sukkot with Simchas Torah. That act of kindness that he's done, he's managed to bypass Yom Kippur, and is already now, Hashem's already letting him dance with the Sefer Torah. Because what Rabbi Yitzchak is saying, when we do that act of kindness, that is the key way to get to an incredible level of joy. And just to finish off with, Friday morning, Thursday night is a very, very holy time in the Jewish calendar called the Hoshana Rabbah. There's a famous pop song called Signed, Sealed and Delivered, and maybe that's alluding to on Rosh Hashanah our year gets signed, on Yom Kippur it gets sealed, but my dear friends, it ain't yet been delivered. Our year isn't yet being delivered. We can still make some subtle changes and bring a lot of more, please God, blessing in our life, and I bless you all. We have tremendous brachot, and one of the ways to do that is to really connect on Hoshana Rabbah this Thursday night. Say a lot of Tehillim. It's a holy, 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 holy night. They say, really, it's as holy as Yom Kippur. Just, you know, I think that Arizal said, if we knew how holy it is, we couldn't cope with another day like Yom Kippur. So we don't really know unless you're in the know. But if you have the power and have the strength to say some psalms on Thursday night, on Thursday morning, to go through the prayers of Hoshana Rabbah, to destroy those shanas, to walk around 7 times, all do what you can. Give some extra charity on Hoshana Rabbah. Do some extra prayers, and then please God, all of us will be given the good kvittel, will be given, please God, a year of tremendous blessing and success. While Hashem will end the plague, will end the Magefa, and please God, bring Mashiach. Okay, Nikki had a question. Nikki, now your question of doubt. Instagram is going to go off in 1 minute and 19 seconds, but please then go to Facebook on the Avi Hill, not the J Network one, ain't working, but the Avi Hill one. Okay, Ma'az got a question, and then we'll take Nikki's question. I remember that it was said about King Saul, Varach Hashem, it means that you might lose this purity of soul. Maybe it doesn't depend on your thoughts, and it might just be a depression that happens. I would just say that, Ma'ar, I think, obviously, you know, sometimes depression can get in, but here's the thing. Sometimes depression comes from us disconnecting from being aligned with the soul. Sometimes that can be a big challenge. Nachon, it can be an illness. So if it's the illness, it's not kind of what we're saying about. I'm still sure, Mara, that these 5 steps will help Shaul HaMelech to change your GPS, to get involved in growing, to get involved in giving, right? To get involved with, what was number 4? Anyone number 4? Number 4, to remove doubt, and finally to get involved with kindness. I'm sure that would help. So Thursday night, Friday morning is Hoshana Rabbah. Nikki, what's your question on doubt? Which Psalms? Sherry, order them, girl. Any of them, order them. It's all good. Especially, by the way, one of the ways to remove doubt is Psalm number 27. So I definitely recommend that. But try and say as many Psalms as you can. I would recommend number 13 as well to say. Okay, intuition and doubt. When things don't feel like a green light. Elaborate, Nikki. So what are you saying? Go back to your question about doubt. Let's help you on your question of doubt. So here's the thing. Intuition, I was talking about it to one of my clients this morning. Intuition, there's 2 intuitions. There's spiritual intuition, but there's ego intuition. So our job is to remove an animal intuition. So our job is to get to a place of spiritual intuition, to get to a place where our soul is aligned to Hashem and you feel your gut. So that's the goal. Nikki, that's the goal. The goal is to create a context when you can't lie to yourself anymore, and you're doing what Hashem wants, and that's why either go to the kotel, you know, say psalms, you know, do what you need to do to align yourself. The tzaddik, it says, kolatz moisaini tarmano. The goal, really, the tzaddik and our goal can be that our body knows what Hashem wants. You just know. Sometimes, like if you're looking for a job, you can go to a job interview. You should be interviewing the employer, right? You should be feeling, is this where I want to be? Is this really where I want to be? You could be asking yourself that. You should be learning how to listen to your spiritual instincts, learning how to follow your spiritual gut. And it's a lot of work, and you might need to speak to me to try and, it's more than a feeling. It's almost, it's, you just know. And you can feel it in your gut. You can literally feeling it in your gut. And that's how the tzaddikim were. They would know which way to go. Should I go right or left? They would just be in sync with their body, their soul, their body, their heart, their mind, God, all working in the same direction. It's almost like the clouds of glory, which is really Sukkot, right? And that's why, in a way, Sukkot is happiness, because it's the clouds of glory. Hashem's navigating us. It's the GPS. It's the leaving the material. Step 1, we spoke about leaving that material cocoon, leaving that material delusion that we're being safe because of our material. Going into the sukkah means, no, you're not. You're only safe from Hashem. You're living in the shades of emunah. And that's what helps us feel good and feel happy. It's one of the reasons why Sukkot is called V'samachta b'chagecha. Any other questions? Anyone else out there? Anyone else like to ask any other questions? Feel free to ask. Anybody? Anybody there? Any questions? Okay, so you could always message me later. I look forward to seeing you next week. And I'm wishing you all a beautiful Hoshana Rabbah. Hashem should save us all. And I'm wishing you a nice Shabbat and a nice Simchat Torah. And I look forward to seeing you next Wednesday. If anybody would like to donate to J Network, it'll be super appreciated. We've got incredible dreams and aspirations, but we need your help, with Hashem's help, to achieve them. So any donation will be super appreciated. Lots of love, everybody. Nice to see you. Robbie, I hope you haven't just come now, but I'm going to try and save it on my Facebook, and then you can get a chance to watch it later for anybody who's just come on now. Cool. I'm still here if anybody has a question, by the way, if anybody wants to ask a question. Your chance. Okay, take care, everyone. God bless.